Hi, this is Juris coming at you again from Riga, Latvia, with a kind of an update on stuff that's been happening here. Well, to use a Latvian phrase, the balagans has started. Balagans comes from the kind of Slavic, whatever expression, balagan, which means like a big circus and, kind of not very serious black humor laced event. And the balagans that are starting now is the campaign for the extraordinary elections to the Riga City Council, which will take place after several postponements because of the COVID-19 thing on August the 29th. So the next couple of weeks are going to be full of campaigning and political activity. I have my iPad here because I have a news story from Letta which sort of describes who is going to be running. There are going to be 15 tickets or 15 lists of people to be elected from 15 different political parties vying for seats on the 60-member Riga City Council. Now, the interesting thing is that this is actually a kind of a low in terms of numbers for a Latvian election. Back in the day, back before Kārlis Ulmanis, the authoritarian leader, took power in 1934 and abolished basically the parliament and all political parties, there were myriads of parties. There were like 25 political parties in one of the last sessions of the parliament or the Saima back in the 1930s. But so we're breaking with tradition here to just narrowing it down to a mere 15 political uh, kind of factions or parties running for power here. And they're not really parties. They're, to a large extent, kind of ad hoc interest groups. Some of them have stronger national support. So let's go through the list here. There's a party called For Development 4 slash the Progressives, which is a kind of a party alliance of a kind of center left liberal party called for Development 4 or Attīstībai by Par, which is in itself also a kind of an amalgam of two different kind of political parties, and the Progressives, who are kind of center left social democrats, a relatively new party. Then there we have the New Conservative Party. These were kind of hardline anti-corruption folks, and they're also very hardline against gambling and vice, considering gambling one of the main vices in the city of Riga, and also corruption. Very good for them that they were hard on corruption. Then there's a party called An Honor to Serve Riga, Gods kalpot Rigai. This political party sort of formed ad hoc during the administration of the outgoing city council, which was actually dismissed by the government, and the mayor, Niels Ušakovs, who was also thrown out by the government and then got elected to the European Parliament. And I would say, is kind of a satellite party to Harmony, Saskaņa, the kind of widely seen as pro-Russian, self-declared social democrats who were running the Riga City Council for about 10 years, and their sort of social democratic kind of redistribution of wealth program involved dumping enormous amounts of subsidies into the Riga Public Transport Association, also making sure that public service unions, such as the one for Riga Transport, were always backing the mayor and his people, and it was absolutely a totally corrupt situation there, and we're lucky to be rid of them. Then we have the National Alliance, the nationalists who are running on a ticket saying that Riga will not be a rainbow city and there will be no pride marches, or it will not be a city of pride marches, or whatever they mean. So they're running on a kind of anti-ticket. They're saying, we don't want any of this, LGBT stuff here. or that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. Anyway, then we have the New Unity, kind of a center liberal party, the party of the Prime Minister, Krišjānis Kariņš, and have a powerful candidate for mayor in one of the uh, former city councilors. All of the city councilors were fired when the city council was dissolved. Their candidate is a guy named Vilnis Kirsis, who amusingly always, gets translated by Google as Wave Cherry. So anyway, Wave Cherry is their man, and he's a nice guy. I have talked to him as a journalist, and I've gotten a rational opposition viewpoint when the city council was still running. So that's that. Then we have the Green and Farmers Party, like the center of Riga here, which is a fairly dense urban area, like they're full of farmers. But anyway, these guys are a party that is sort of closely allied with Aivars Lembergs, the notorious so-called mayor of the city of Ventspils. The list of corruption scandals and trials and God knows what Mr. Lembergs has been involved in would take up the better part of an hour to relate to you, so I won't do that. And then we get down into, well, we have the Latvian Union of Russians, which is, kind of a party sort of not really to the left of Harmony, but more openly pro-Russian than Harmony. They say, there are a lot of Russians living in Riga. These guys and women are our electorate, and we are there for them. Fine with them. There's something called the Center Party, something called the Action Party, the Rīcības partija, and then there's a rather weird formation called the National Union for Justice, Nacionālā savienība taisnīgums. These guys are kind of pretty far out on the right wing. I mean, sort of, they're almost like falling off the plane. But they, at least they, if I read them right, there was a very interesting lecture once that I attended by one of their leaders, a guy called Viktors Birze, where he described a vision for the country and actually a vision for Riga that could sort of be compared to what Albert Speer was dreaming up for Berlin, that there was going to make Riga into this city of iconic symbols and buildings that would sort of emanate or have this aura of Latvian national ethnic pride or something like that, not ethnic symbols and stuff like that. So, I mean, while these folks are sort of, I don't want to use the harsher word. Let us say these people come from the field of damaged ceramics. Their vision, which if they do incorporate it into their election program, would be kind of weird, kind of interesting. Having Riga with like new skyscraper buildings with ethnographic symbols sort of etched into the walls or whatever. But that's that. And then we have the New Harmony, which is a split off from Harmony, and then we have KPVLV, or Who Owns the State. This is the party that was founded by the lawyer Aldis Gobzems and the actor Artus Kaimiņš, who are no longer friends, who are enemies, and who are no longer members of this party. The party sort of has been ripping itself slowly to pieces. Almost all of these parties say, well, basically their program is we're trying to do good stuff for the people of Riga, except for Harmony and On Honor to Save Riga. Most of them are saying, well, whatever we do, it's not what the other guys did, which was to basically screw things up here and turn Riga into a den of kind of corruption and waste and so forth. So, well, that's that on the party programs and stuff. I was sort of using that as a promemoria. What else is going on? The COVID situation, we have sort of fluctuating single-digit or zero-digit figures for that, and the People are still trying to figure out whether it was a wise idea to open up this street, Tarbata Street. I've done a couple of videos about that out on the street as a pedestrian street, and at the same time to hold some kind of big public events there, concerts and everything, which gathered, shoulder to shoulder crowds. But anyway. The other thing is, getting back around to the National Alliance, is that one of their deputies in the parliament, Juris Iesolnieks, a young lawyer and a long-time nationalist activist, has been called before an ethics commission of the Latvian Saeima or parliament for reposting or retweeting a LGBT-free zone sticker, which he had actually obtained or had translated into Latvian. This comes from Poland, where the Polish authorities in some cities are putting these things up because they don't want to have gay pride parades. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that LGBT people exist in their society, and they do not realize that what they are doing is echoing the Judenfrei, like we ain't got no Jews here, signs that were put up after the German Einsatzgruppen moved through Poland and other parts of Eastern Europe. So this is pretty heavy to put something like that up. And while I would defend the right of Juris Iesolnieks to literally advocate any kind of nonsense that he happens to believe in, I'm a kind of a First Amendment absolutist on these issues. I can understand why this is happening to him. The fact that you have freedom of speech does not mean, A, that you are guaranteed a platform, and B, it does not mean that everybody is going, or that you are guaranteed an audience, or that you are even guaranteed a sympathetic audience. You can go out and set up a stand in, for instance, on this Tarbata Street pedestrian zone, and say, well, child cannibalism is a great thing, put up a big sign. You will not get a friendly audience. In fact, it would not be surprised if you were chased away from there with stones and pitchforks, or for an openly racist thing of some sort. So that is, now turning again into the usual Latvian Twitter storm around Mr. Iesolnieks and his statements, and him being joined by the various alt-right kind of mob that I usually deal with on Twitter, for those of you who follow this and those of you who read Latvian. So that's that. Also, there's an uproar about the fact that I tend to try to explain, at least to people, that I think that the whole Black Lives Matter protest and the events in Portland, Oregon, where people are understandably concerned and angry about the fact that the little green men sent from Washington have arrived and started grabbing people on the street. Well, we'll see. Do they bring any kind of probable cause-based charges for these arrests? We'll see. So that's about it from Latvia, from me for now, and I'll get back to you again when there's something else interesting to say. So long.